Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. On today's show, we're talking about how to deal with inertia when you hit an obstacle. There's two types of inertia. The first one is obeying Newtonian physics. Hitting an obstacle when you're in motion usually results in a crash. We're not going to focus on that one. We're talking about when your project encounters an obstacle. We're talking about finding that perfect balance of persistence and knowing when to pivot. As syndicators, we have to keep our fiduciary responsibility to our investors at the forefront of our decision-making process. That consists of a combination of preservation of capital and maximizing investor returns. We also have a responsibility to the employees of the organization and to the residents of our properties. So along comes a pandemic and financial performance suffers. Agreements that were in place prior to the pandemic evaporate. The choices are simple. Number 1, pushing forward on the current path. Number 2, slowing down and waiting for the obstacle to clear. Number 3, you could give up. Or number 4, you could pivot or change course. I have several projects that have been impacted by the pandemic. In one case, there's a dramatic decrease in construction capital available for that project. So we decided to pivot and deliver a different product in that location. Original idea was to build a 4-star hotel, but at a time when hotel occupancy is at historic lows, it's difficult to engage people in investing in a new construction hotel. So much hotel capital is waiting for the deluge of distressed properties that are expected to hit the market in the coming months. So if a hotel doesn't work this year in that location, what should we build? We feel that a high-rise building in the core of the city is best suited to provide one of 3 products. Number 1, a hotel. That's off the table. Number 2, apartments, or number 3, condominiums. All 3 were analyzed at the start of the project, so a pivot to one of the alternate options is actually pretty straightforward. We knew when we went into the project that all 3 products were viable in that location. When a lender on another project surprised us with a much higher interest rate and higher fees, we had to change gears again. The reason for the higher rate was uncertainty introduced by the pandemic. An appraiser gave a low valuation compared to the historic data. His rationale was the uncertainty introduced by the pandemic. The appraiser reduced the rents in his model compared with the actual rents in the market. He also changed the cap rate compared to the market in order to account for the uncertainty associated with the pandemic. The net result was a financing that was simply unworkable. Unfortunately, he made up the data because the real data post-pandemic is that rental rates have gone up. Not every market has done that, but in this market it has. Again, you've got choices. Keep pushing on the current path. Number 2, slow down and wait for the obstacle to clear. Number 3, you could give up. Or number 4, you could change course. Trying to convince a lender to fundamentally change their terms rarely works. A bad quote from one lender is hardly a reason to give up. So changing course to a different lender is the only sensible option. We have another project where the negotiations on the land have been underway for an extended period of time. In the end, the landowner put the land under contract with conditions with another buyer. The seller put the chances of the new buyer closing at less than 50%, but somehow he had convinced himself that he had made the best choice. Again, you've got 4 choices. Keep pushing on the current path, slow down and wait, give up, or change course. Now, pushing on the current path would have meant putting a firm backup offer with the current seller, hoping that the deal with the current buyer falls through. Rather than accept the delay associated with waiting for the current contract to expire, we decided to look at other parcels of land in the immediate area. And whereas last year there was not much land for sale, this year we found 4 parcels that would be suitable to build our project. One of them is actually a vastly superior location with the added benefit of being at a lower price. It's never one size fits all. We have another project that is stalled due to the pandemic. Vacancies opened up in the market temporarily and lenders have paused new construction in the area. We're certainly not going to give up. Changing course doesn't make sense either. In this case, it simply makes sense to slow down and wait for the obstacle to clear. Obstacles appear in virtually every project, often without warning. Sometimes it's a regulation change after construction has started. Other times it's an increase in interest rates, and this year it's a pandemic. The question of when to push, when to wait, when to quit, and when to pivot presents itself with every obstacle. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.